All right, y'all. Welcome to Blacks with Power, the show for blacks in America who want to discover ways to harness their power in order to protect the gains won by the struggles of our ancestors and advance the cause of freedom for themselves, their family, and for others. We believe that for America to be great, to be that more perfect union that we are called to be by the Constitution, we must have racial reconciliation in this country. And for there to be true reconciliation, blacks in America must empower themselves to compel and encourage repentance for the system and ideology of white supremacy that has betrayed the ideal of liberty and justice for all. I'm Father Jabril Ballantine, and I will be your guide to harnessing that power and leveraging it in ways to affect the changes that we need to see in order for black lives to matter. Thank you so much for listening. You can find us online, blackswithpower.com. Please like the Facebook page, facebook.com/blackswithpower. You can subscribe to the show on iTunes, on YouTube, on Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn. Listen to the previous episodes, and please share a review, leave a thumbs up, leave a thumbs down. Let us know what you like, what you dislike, so we can tailor make this show to give you exactly what you need. Now, we got a lot to discuss in this episode, so let me get right down to it. I want to talk to you today about the NFL and Colin Kaepernick. It's all going all over the place. Earlier this week, we saw that our brother Sean King led a protest out there. I think Spike Lee was part of the spearheading that as well, in order to protest the fact that Colin Kaepernick still doesn't have a job. And we all know the reason, brothers and sisters, because he had the audacity to take a knee at the national anthem and make his protest known that he doesn't appreciate the way this country is treating us. We talked about Colin earlier in one of the early episodes of Blacks with Power with one of my main man, sports writer Mike Tillery, the starting5.com, over there for Chuck D's network. And you can find that episode on here. It's called The Power of the Black Athlete. And we were talking about the power that black athletes have and how we can get them to use it. But in this episode, I want to talk about something a little different, but supporting that. How can we, how might we, how should we help black athletes in order to exercise the power that they have so that we can be effective? You see, brothers, sisters, when Colin took his protest, took his knee, and he did it for the duration, and he did not, maybe he didn't articulate the best message or articulate it in the best way, but he's not Ali, but in a sense he is Muhammad Ali. He's nowhere near as loquacious as gifted with gab as Muhammad Ali was. But can't everybody be Ali, right? But I want to talk to you about that because we're seeing now the NFL's response. We all know how white power does. They wink and they nod. They're not going to say outright that they're not going to employ you. They're not going to say outright that you cannot get a job. They're not going to say that outright, but they're going to wink, they're going to nod, and everybody's going to know because you're an outspoken Negro, because you had the audacity to open your mouth and speak truth to power, that they're going to find a way to make you suffer. Now, we all know how that goes, and we all know that that is the case. And some of us believe that we're supposed to acquiesce to that and just settle for that. And some of us believe that we shouldn't. For those of you all that don't believe that we should acquiesce, that don't believe that we should kowtow, that don't believe that we should close our mouths and keep our mouths silent to injustice simply because the man is going to get us, then this episode is for you. Like I said, Sean King been doing a lot of work organizing for social justice, organizing for the various causes that have been affecting our society of recent. And, they had led a protest outside the NFL headquarters. I don't know. I'm in Orlando. They're up in New York. I don't know if I would have gone. Not because I don't support Colin Kaepernick. 100% hands down. I support Colin Kaepernick, and that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. But at the same time, I just had this question. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about begging the NFL to give Colin Kaepernick a job when they've already shown us that they don't want to have him get a job. Nevertheless, I also know that Colin Kaepernick is a football player. And just because he has a conscience, that doesn't mean that he should not be able to play football. So there's a lot of validity to what they're doing. I'm not criticizing what they're doing. I give thanks for what they're doing and support what they're doing. I just don't personally feel like begging the NFL to put him on. They've already shown us their true color. That's why I 100% support that blackout all-out effort. I ain't watching football. I mean, I guess it was easy for me because, I grew up in the Virgin Islands. I ain't have a tackle football team in the Virgin Islands. I don't have any real affinity for any football team. I like some players, mostly I cheer for the teams with the black quarterbacks, so on and so forth. But, hey, I cannot watch it. I don't even own any NFL paraphernalia. So I guess it's kind of easy for me, right? But I want to talk about something that might be a little different because there's been a lot of public criticism, and this is where we talk about I want to talk about the comparisons between Colin Kaepernick and Muhammad Ali. I brought up Ali before, and yes, we know that Colin Kaepernick is nowhere near, well, at least we haven't heard him be as loquacious, as witty, as funny, as gifted, as prolific a communicator as Ali was. I mean, Ali, his mouth could go, and the words were beautiful, and they flowed together, and it was melodic, and it was poignant, and it was powerful, and it was concise, and it was all kinds of things. You just couldn't battle with him verbally, right? But that doesn't seem to be Kaepernick, nor does it have to be. But the similarities, brothers and sisters, remember, Ali got into a whole bunch of trouble with the man because he had the audacity to protest Vietnam. He did not enter the draft, or he would not allow them to draft him. He'd rather be prosecuted. He'd rather go to jail. As he famously said, no Viet Cong ever called me nigga. He said, and I'm going to post a video to this on the post, on the blog post for this episode, that, why should I go to Vietnam and fight for some people over there, to free some people over there, when I'm not free here? When I got oppressors here. He said that you my enemy, talking to white power, talking to white supremacy. He said, you my enemy. You the ones that denying me freedom. They ain't denying me freedom. You the ones don't want me to vote. You the ones don't want me to get a job. You the ones that don't want me to learn, don't want me to do this, don't want me to do that. And my fight is here. And if I'm going to die, this is one of the things that he almost said verbatim, if I remember the quote, if I'm going to die, then I'd rather die here fighting you than die over there fighting somebody that I don't have no beef with. And, the interesting thing about that is when Ali said those words, all hell broke loose. There was a television host, David Susskind, who was quoted as saying about Ali that, he was, a disgrace to his race. Here's a white man going to tell Ali that he's a disgrace. Look at Ali. I'm going to put the video is going to be on the blog post too, but looked at Ali in his eyes on the TV screen, and because they had this live, this TV to TV thing going even back then, but looked at Ali in his eyes and told him that he was a disgrace to his race. White man going to tell him that he a disgrace to his race. But it wasn't just, white folks saying this. It was also black folks saying this. Most famously, Jackie Robinson actually came out and criticized Ali as well, talking about how, Ali has enjoyed the sport and enjoyed all that America has offered him by allowing him to do this sport where he can make millions of dollars, and now he's doing a discredit to the great country, and so on and so forth. And all these ironies, right? And the similarities are so poignant, from Tim Brown talking about Marshawn Lynch, who's supporting Kaepernick's protest by continuing it now, right? Tim Brown saying that, he doesn't get it. He don't understand why they protesting, and that people play football or come watch football games to get away from all of this, and that, there's no place for this in football, and that you just need to enjoy football and enjoy the blessings of football and the blessings that football give you. And then most poignantly, Representative Peter King. And Peter King is an interesting one because, I've met him. I knew him. He was the one that sponsored Jack Johnson's exoneration bill. Jack Johnson, who got convicted of dating white women, and because they couldn't find a way to knock him out the ring, to check out the documentary Unforgivable Blackness to learn more about Jack Johnson. But Peter King, big boxing fan. And it's so ironic that Peter King is going to turn and call Kaepernick a disgrace, right? And say that it's disgraceful for Colin Kaepernick to be doing this protest while at the same time being such a boxing fan. I remember helping him get into a boxing ring for a trainer that I knew so that he can go spar and box and they could take pictures for Politico and so on and so forth. So this man I know firsthand to be a big boxing fan, so he should be well aware of everything that Ali endured and how it was completely unjust and how coming full circle Ali was vindicated, not just exonerated and his record cleared and so on and so forth, but history showed Ali to be on the right side of things. And you would think that Peter King would know that history and see that Colin Kaepernick just might be on the right side of things. But, nevertheless, it is what it is. And we all know what it cost Ali, His trainer, Dundee, would say that it cost Ali the best years of his fighting career. That when he came back into the ring after those 3 years of being denied access to boxing licenses and not able to fight, that he came back a little flat-footed, that he came back not quite as light on his feet as he used to be before this whole ordeal. Now, he was still the greatest of all time, hands down, undeniably, but that we were denied seeing him in his prime years. And it's similar to that with Kaepernick. People want to say about what Kaepernick is denied a job. You got idiots like Jason Whitlock talking about he's denied a job because he's not good. But the man went to 2 Super Bowls, or at least to AFC championship games. Again, I'm not a diehard football fan. If this was baseball, I'd be able to speak more poignantly about the baseball aspects of it. But I know enough about football to play it and enjoy watching it. But he was a prolific quarterback. He was good enough to remove a number 1 draft pick, Alex Smith. And so here it is, a man that cannot get a job, and we all know because he had the audacity to take a knee. So it cost Ali years in his prime. It cost Ali the stress, the strain, the isolation of standing alone in many respects. And it's costing Kaepernick the same thing. It's costing him the prime of his NFL career. Here's a man that, he went to school to play football. He got drafted to play football. He wanted to play football. He did not want to be a social justice activist. But thanks be to God, he saw that his voice was needed and he entered into that space. And now it's costing him his NFL career. It's costing him stress. It's costing him strain. It's costing him criticism. It's costing him isolation. And of course, it ultimately worked out for Ali, right? We know that at the end of the day, Muhammad Ali was cleared. He was exonerated. It took a whole heck of a lot. It took people slipping Supreme Court justices, message to the black man from Elijah Muhammad to see that Ali really was a black Muslim and what the black Muslims believed, and that his protesting of the Vietnam War was indeed conscientious objection because of his faith. It took a whole lot of wrangling, but yes, he eventually got his name clear. He eventually was exonerated. He eventually became a national hero where everyone wants to celebrate Ali like they always were on Ali's side. And I imagine, because we know that what Colin Kaepernick is standing for, what he is saying about what he is trying to convey about the mattering of black lives, especially as it pertains to police violence in this country, we know that he is standing on the right side of things, and we believe that in the end, he will ultimately be exonerated. History will show that, and when I say exonerated, I know he's not facing any legal implications like Ali was, but that his name will be cleared and that he would be found to be on the right side of things. And, ultimately, I imagine people will praise him and so on and so forth. But I imagine as well that those 3 years where Ali was holding on were some lonely years. Everybody had gone away. All the limelight had gone away. Everything that he had worked for had gone away because he decided to take a stand and not turn a blind eye to his people. And we are watching everything go away for Colin Kaepernick because he decided not to turn a blind eye to his people. And this is why it connects back to that episode about the power of black athletes, because we always say that we want black athletes to step in and be voices of reason because they have the gravitas, they have the platform, they have the stage. But when they do step in, brothers and sisters, the question then becomes, how will we support them? Will we just let them be out there on their own when they stand up for us, or will we stand in the gap with them and for them to ensure that the costs that they have to pay are not too steep? Now, everybody knows that we all got to pay a cost for whatever there is. Bonhoeffer would talk about there's a cost to discipleship, and those of us who believe in truth, those of us who believe in the right, will indeed face costs. But I would like to believe, brothers and sisters, that we can love one another enough. Those of us who do believe in the right, do believe in the value of our own lives, that we can stand together, that we can band together and support one another when we do take stands. And so the question then becomes, what will the stand be that we take for Colin Kaepernick? How will we support? I'm really asking that question, and that's why I was saying that the Facebook group becomes important. Brothers and sisters, there's an application to get into the Facebook group, so it's a safe space to make sure that we can hash out these ideas and make sure that it's hashed out without intrusion. Now, you can't always. There's going to be some trolls, maybe, so on and so forth, but for the most part, we do our best to ensure that that is a safe space for people that are committed to the cause of black excellence. And so I really want to know, because I don't know I don't have any connection with Colin Kaepernick. I don't know him. I don't know anybody that's going to put me in touch with him. Not yet, anyway. I don't know any organizations that are doing anything specifically to support him. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't be galvanizing and finding ways and pulling together and maybe finding people who can support and identifying ways that we can support, identifying ways that we can support the others who are joining in. One of the Bennett brothers is joining into the protest. Marshawn Lynch is joining into the protest. There was a white player, a tight end for the Browns, that joined into the protest. And athletes are starting to speak up, but we need to be able to support them, brothers and sisters, so that they don't lose everything that they've worked for simply because they care about you and I. So, brothers and sisters, I urge you, I hope that you would join the group, blackswithpower.com/Facebook, and let's start talking about some tangible ways that we can galvanize some support. Yes, not just showing up to hope that he gets a job. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate that protest, right? But I'm saying I still believe that we should do more than just show up and hope that he gets a job and try to compel the NFL to give him a job. I also think that in the meantime, we should be finding ways maybe to empower his social justice efforts, maybe to get him on the speaking circuit, maybe to, support him in other ways, find ways that we could support him and other athletes, because I believe, brothers and sisters, that if we find strong ways to show athletes that we got your back, when you stand up for us, we have your back, then we'll see more athletes to come into the fray. Because, especially in the NFL, where money ain't guaranteed, your contract ain't guaranteed, it takes a lot to be able to take a stand, because at the end of the day, you still got mouths to feed. And no, you may not need to feed them with multi-millions of dollars, but you still deserve to be able to feed your family. And that's what we want to make sure that we can do for Colin, for Marshawn, for, I think, Martellus Bennett. And we want to make sure for any of them that join in, from the other sports that join in, that we can show that we have a vehicle that if you have our back, we have your back. So please join the Facebook group, blackswithpower.com/Facebook. Fill out the application so that we can know that you good peoples. And let's start that discussion on how we can actually form something, a vehicle that will support them. And if you know of any that already exist, I hope that you would place that in the comments, place that in the group, so that those of us who care about that can chime in and make that support even greater. Brothers and sisters, better believe, a charge to keep we have, a God to glorify, a never-dying soul to save and fit it for the sky. We have come a long way. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters, we as a people have accomplished a great deal. Thanks be to God. But we ain't there yet. So let us march on till victory is won. Live with power.